time for the biggest sports stories.
It's Neymar trying to feed it through. It's a stretch and it's in. And I can't remember the last time I saw something like this. Extraordinary scenes.
The biggest interviews.
It's more difficult. Obviously, it's more difficult.
And all the analysis right here.
If they play poorly, they come back, they've got all the excuses. You can't have it both ways.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
It was mostly cold, dreary and wet weather around Zimbabwe, mostly here in the capital. But if you're a sports fan, there were lots of performances over the weekend that would have warmed you up. The heat is on Norman Mapes after he lost his match versus Augusto out in Angola. Wales left a bit hot under the weather after they were denied a crucial try in their Six Nations encounter versus England. And Liverpool, Mohamed Salah, the pharaoh of African football, with a hot performance. We hope to replicate all that on today's edition of ZiFM Sport. It's your usual team: Mark Pozzo, Alois Munjira, Barry Manandi, and yours truly, Mike Madoda, on the biggest sports show anywhere on Zimbabwe radio. Manic Monday, everybody.
There'll be a lot of heat coming from the home front in football news. Zimbabwe champions FC Platinum's dream to make a mark on the continent received a major setback after they were handed a heavy defeat by Club Desportivo de Augusto in the first leg of the CAF Champions League preliminary round tying. Cricket news: Brendan Taylor scored a majestic 125 as Zimbabwe thrashed Afghanistan by 154 runs in the second one-day international to level the 5-match series in Sharjah. And in karate news, Zimbabwe's fighters Tangai Mhlanga and Pumlani Maposa made their presence felt at the first Sokyukshan International Karate Tournament in Nepal over the weekend after claiming gold.
To our international sports news roundup, we start with rugby, where Warren Gatland was left fuming with the TMO after Wales were denied a first-half try in Saturday's 12-6 defeat by England. To cricket, and Indian captain Virat Kohli says South Africa deserved to win the fourth ODI at the Wanderers on Saturday as the home team kept themselves alive in the 6-match series. In the NBA, the Boston Celtics are running out of jersey numbers to retire as franchise legend Paul Pierce became the latest to have his jersey lofted to the TD Garden rafters before Boston's loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
We have the play of the day today being Manic Monday. We'll hope to get your week off to a banging start in our musical interlude that's brought to you by Zoll Fibronics. And there we kick off the beautiful game in England, where Manchester United manager Jose Mourinho bemoaned his side's inability to score against Newcastle by saying his side could have played for 10 hours and not scored following their 1-0 loss at St. James's Park. In La Liga, Atletico Madrid president Enrique Cerezo says his team will battle to the end after a weekend in which they cut the gap to 7 points behind La Liga leaders Barcelona, who dropped points at home to Getafe. We rounded up in Serie A. Napoli coming from behind to produce a stunning 4-1 victory against Lazio to storm back to the top of the Serie A table.
The Power Play on ZiFM Sport. The Warriors, the Chevrons, the Cheetahs, the Mighty Warriors, and the Sables. From the pool to the track to the field, we are Team Zimbabwe. The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis.
This is the show that's for the fans. What do we mean by that? We want to hear from you on our WhatsApp platform, 0731 168 045. We'll be having the fan zone a bit later on. We'll read as many of your messages as we can. That number again, 0731 168 045. We're also on Twitter and Facebook. Follow and interact with at ZiFM Sport. Now we kick off with football, where Zimbabwe champions Kugona Kunenge Kudada Pure Platinum play FC Platinum's dream to make a mark in their African Champions League adventure received a major setback after they were handed a heavy 3-0 defeat by Club Desportivo de Augusto in the first leg of their preliminary round CAF Champions League tie. FC Platinum went to the half-time break trailing 1-0 after Angolan Mongo drilled a low shot past badly exposed goalkeeper Wallace Magalani after 7 minutes. In the second half, the home team continued with a high-pressing game and were 2-0 up after 55 minutes through Jacques, who profited from a horrendous mistake by Magalane. The Congolese international was not done as he found the back of the net with his second goal 7 minutes later to make it 3-0. From then on, the home team were all over the opponents until the final whistle, and it was just damage limitation for Norman Mapeza. Before we hear the thoughts of Alois Bunjira, let me just run through the team, the FC Platinum team that took part this weekend. In goal was Wallace Magalane. Remember, he replaced Petros Mari halfway through the season last season, and he was totally outstanding as FC Platinum were crowned champions. But he found out this weekend that continental football is a different kettle of fish from the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League. And then in defense, Kelvin Moyo and Elvis Moyo, the twins. Lawrence Motlanga, former Chicken Inn captain, was making his competitive debut for FC Platinum at centre-back. Winston Mango, Rodo Chinyengetere, Raman Kutsanzira, the Highlanders skipper or former Highlanders skipper. He was replaced by Tatenda Mudewa in the 83rd minute. Ali Sadiki Neva Tigere, who was replaced by Kelvin Madzongwe after 61 minutes, and in attack Mukokeli Druve. Alois, disappointing this one, 3-0. Not that we weren't expecting defeat. I mean, we did mention the quality and the pedigree of Augusto. Good side, 11 championships since their formation in 1977. Difficult to beat at home, this Angolan side. But 3-0, that's a bit more than we were expecting to concede as a nation.
Yeah, we were not expecting FC Platinum to go to Angola and beat De Augusto. You know, we spoke about it that, you know, when you look at Angolan football, Zimbabwean football, we are not far away from each other. We are almost like we have struggled actually to beat Angolan teams. We have struggled to actually beat the Angolan national team. You know, that was one game that FC Platinum needed to handle with caution. You know, and for them to go out there and concede 3 goals, I think it was really bad for the nation. You know, at least they needed to score a goal and make sure that the defeat was minimal.
Just to keep their hopes alive. Now, I want to bring in something. Alois, you're going to weigh in later, but I'm going to ask this to Barry because I know, Alois, you're going to have something to say about this. And because, Barry, you go back to the generation of Alois Munjira. If you go back to the 90s, I believe that one of the things that led to a Dynamo side in 1998 getting to this to the final of the CAF Champions League, and even if you take a look at the early part of the century, and you saw a Dynamo side get to the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League, is because, you know, our players were not intimidated playing in full stadiums.
No.
Our players were not intimidated playing in front of hostile fans. Mm-hmm. You take a look at the way our football has been for the last 10 years. We rarely get full houses around the country.
Yeah.
We rarely get that. FC Platinum, the year that they won the title last season, they were coming to play Dynamos in Rufaro Stadium. Was it a full house? No, it wasn't a full house. They were going to play Highlanders at Barberfield Stadium. Was it a full house? No, it wasn't a full house. Was the atmosphere intimidating? No, it wasn't intimidating at all. The likes of Memory Mchira were used to going into war zones.
Yes.
When they went to Barberfield Stadium, it was a war zone. It was packed to the rafters. There were fans outside, even when they were entering the city.
Fans
when the likes
trees.
of Alois were getting to Barberfield Stadium, or Alois remembers the game they played even against Highlanders at Gwanzura, and they won 2-1. It was hostile.
Yeah.
Is that part maybe something that was missing in terms of mental preparation for FC Platinum?
No, definitely. Also, I mean, I'm going to add to that. Even in their home games, FC Platinum doesn't play to a full house.
Yeah.
You look at it, their crowning moment last season, they had won the league, first time ever, and they couldn't fill the stadium on the day that they were actually being crowned. And so that aspect of the game obviously saw them flounder in Angola, because you walk into a full stadium.
They were playing in a full stadium.
Red and black
They
everywhere.
were playing in front of a hostile crowd.
Yeah, and so consequently, when you're a young man, and also there's a very young team. I'm glad you ran through the lineup. It's a very young team that ran out, that is not used to being at this level. And no surprise that, you know, one of the goals was as a result of the young goalkeeper making an error, another error causing the second goal. So even if we chalk those off, it's still 1-0.
2 errors, Alois. 2 errors. Surely that's a case of nerves.
Yeah, of course. You know, I'm glad you touched on that as well, because in Zimbabwe we are falling short in terms of that kind of crowd, the attendance, it's very bad. You mentioned it when we used to go to Baba Field, my friend. You just didn't want to. That was one of the worst experience of a soccer player. At the same time, it was a motivator. It was a motivator as well. I remember when we went to Baba Field Stadium with Wisław Grabowski. The moment we went into the changing room, the doors are at the back. You just arrive at the back of the stands, you get into the changing room. But the moment he opened the front door for us to go for warm-up at Baba Field, the noise that went through the corridors,
the singing
into the stadium, he closed the door. He said, "You are not going for warm-up." He was so afraid.
And you didn't warm up on that?
Yeah, we didn't warm up. He was so afraid of the noise. That was
the
coming
effects
through
that
the
it could have on a young team.
He just closed the door. He said, "No, warm up here in the changing room. You're not going in there," because he was so afraid of us as a young team to go inside. And we just went for warm up for the game. We just went inside and we played. We beat them 4-0 by the way. And because we're young, we just went into play. That's the effect of home crowd. So I think the FC Platinum guys, they're not prepared for it. We don't play against the Dynamos in a full house stadium. Dynamos used to be very hostile. The Vietnam stadium used to be very hostile. You get abused. When you go for the national games, you are already in control. You know what to do.
You know what to expect.
Yes, but we don't have that anymore in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwean football, I'm afraid we have regressed 20 years backward.
Okay, let's open it up to the listeners out there. We want to hear your thoughts. FC Platinum, are they still in this tie? They're trailing 3-0. Can they rescue it? Can they do a job in 2 weeks' time at Mandava in Zhishavana? Can they fill the stadium up for starters? Nodding there while they're shaking their heads here in the studio. Alois doesn't believe that it'll be a full house. Barry doesn't think it'll be a full house. And that's the problem with Zimbabwe football, is that usually when our teams suffer defeat, the fans don't show up at the stadium. But this is the time, FC Platinum fans, when your team needs you. Don't forget our WhatsApp number, 0731 168 045. Coming up, we've got your local sports news roundup.
Hi, I'm Graham Creamer, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sports.
We go local with our local sports news roundup, and we'll start with cricket, where Brendan Taylor scored a majestic 125 as Zimbabwe thrashed Afghanistan by 154 runs in the second one-day international to level the five-match series in Sharjah. Wicketkeeper Taylor led the Chevrons to 333 for 5 from their 50 overs with his 9th ODI 100 before Graham Creamer took 4 for 41 with his leg spin as Afghanistan slumped to 89 for 7 on their way to 179 all out. To karate, and Zimbabwe's fighters Tangai Mhlanga and Pholomelani Maposa made their presence felt at the first Koshin International Karate Tournament in Nepal over the weekend after claiming gold. Speaking from Nepal, Mhlanga was elated after dominating in his respective category and is looking forward to other tournaments lined up for him this year. To basketball, and the Harare Basketball League results from the weekend: Hustlers 64, Raiders 56, Cameo 40, Glenview Rockets 45, Cheetahs 45, JBC 52, Varsity 73, Foxes 61. Hockey results from the Harare Indoor Hockey League this weekend: Universal Vets 2, Dragons 3, Sunrisers 6, Stallions 3, 16, Stallions 3, Hockey Club 13, Mustangs 3.
Alcohol may be hazardous to health if consumed to excess. The operation of machinery or driving after the consumption of alcohol is not advisable. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
To make a good beer, you need 4 ingredients. The perfect hops. The finest malted barley. The tallest sun-kissed maize. And the purest water. To make a great beer, you need something else. You need to know how to combine them in exactly the right way. For a taste that is somewhat dry, somewhat bitter, never sweet. It all comes together with a castle.
Exide lasts the distance. Exide has the endurance. Exide unleashes the power, and it starts your engine with just one kick. Exide fears no weather. Exide withstands the temperature. Exide fears no size. Exide does not give up. It is the ultimate battery. Exide, the battery of choice.
Hello, my name is Ibn Etzebeth. I play for the Stormers and the Springboks. You're listening to ZiFM.
From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
Before we go into our international sports news roundup, a WhatsApp message has jumped off the page to me here. It's from Nudi, and it's for Sean, and it says, please play the Peter de Villiers ZiFM promo. The funniest thing I've heard all year. So, Sean, that's a request.
Come on, Sean.
Which one?
Come on. Let's do it. Let's play.
The happiest day of my life. That one.
Here it comes.
Here it comes.
Hi, I'm Peter de Villiers, the national coach for Zimbabwe Rugby, and you are listening to ZiFM Sport.
There you go, Nudie. All for you, mate. Now, rugby news. And fittingly, we go to rugby news where Six Nations was in play. This past weekend, Warren Gatland was left fuming with the TMO after Wales were not awarded a first half try in Saturday's 12-6 defeat by England. Johnny May scored 2 tries in the opening 20 minutes to send the reigning Six Nations champions on their way to victory. But Gatland's side dug in to claw their way back into the test. Gareth Anscombe handed the visitors a lifeline when he crossed the line with his side trailing 12-0 and moments after May's second try. But TV match official Glenn Newman controversially ruled out the score. Gatland says the television match official, the TMO, made the wrong call after disallowing a Wales try against England, while England coach Eddie Jones was thrilled with the doggedness England showed in their win.
It looked like a try to me. Everyone else that I've spoken to has seen it. Looks like a clear try, you know. So that to me, it's disappointing that you get that decision wrong, and it's such a pivotal moment in the game, such a big decision, you know. So they fly a guy over from New Zealand to do a TMO, and there's one big call to make, and unfortunately, I think he's made a terrible mistake, and that's at this level. That's pretty disappointing. Can't do much about it now, can I? So, hopefully someone comes back and. I just struggle a little bit on the wording because I've listened to it, and he's said England got there first, and there's no clear downward pressure from Wales. Well, I saw that completely different, and seen there that I thought Gareth got there. His hand was there, and clearly there's downward pressure. So it's human error, makes a mistake, but at this level, in front of 82,000 people, when there's a lot at stake, you guys have got to get those decisions right.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever made a comment on the TMO. I think it's one part of the game that's done really well in rugby. We've got a guy up there that's a referee. He's got time to make a decision. And if he can't make the right decision, then what do we do? Well, I don't count the seconds, mate. I allow him to make the decision. And he made the decision, you get on with it. I think the 9, 10 and 12 played exceptionally well. Mixed up our options, mixed up our kicking in what were difficult conditions. And again, I think, following on the Australia game in November, it showed that we can be in an arm wrestle, we can hang in there, and we can find a way to win. And that's an important habit to have. And you get that habit by working harder than other teams. And we've got to continually remember that because when you've had success, it's easy to sit back and complacency sits next to you and then you stop doing those little things, and it's important that we keep doing those little things that allow you to win those sort of arm wrestles. And the leadership of the team's been first class, absolutely first class.
The voice of England head coach there, Eddie Jones. And going to our WhatsApp platform, Moody says Wales were robbed, especially after the time taken by the TMO referee. Oh well, up the palms. What's your thought about that?
Well, listen, I think the TMO is the last person we expect to make a mistake because that's your job. Yep. You have
one job.
One job.
Get the decision right.
Get the decision right. And
Exactly.
you're allowed to replay it. You're allowed to have a look at it several times.
Yeah,
and
different angles.
What do the laws of the game say? That was a loose ball for a start.
Yep.
So it's not even about you having it under control. That guy could have literally put his finger on top of the ball, and as long as he had exerted downward pressure, it should have been called a try. He had a whole hand on the ball, and he did exert downward pressure. It was a simple decision to make by just interpreting the laws of the game. And so you take a look at that one, and Wales will feel hard done by. But on the balance of play, I thought that England created the more opportunities. I think they were in the 22 of the Welsh side, a lot more than Wales visited, even though Wales had a stronger finish.
Right.
And Gatland had talked about the fact that he felt that his team were fitter than England, and I think it showed in the last 20-25 minutes, because Wales had a barnstorming finish, and they had opportunities to actually even just upset the apple cart a bit at Twickenham.
Absolutely. And Pos, you being a England Roses fan, obviously I'm not going to ask you about the downward pressure, but what I am going to ask about is the turnovers by Wales, and there were quite a few. Was that a function of England being that good and causing those errors to take place, or was it just Wales not concentrating?
Yeah, look, I think it was England being that good, and I think Wales losing concentration. I certainly believe it was a try.
All right.
There's no doubt about that. Yep. And the rules state he exerted pressure on the ball, and as far as I'm concerned, it was a try. But you know what? You got to look at it now and say that's how it's finished. But for me, England, as Eddie Jones said, they put in a dogged performance,
Right.
and that's just how he's got England to play rugby.
Right. Yeah.
For me, Mike Brown and Owen Farrell were just outstanding.
Absolutely, and Eddie Jones has got that out of England, has he? He's got them playing horses for courses. The matches that he needs to deliver, like in this one, an arm wrestle, he's able to do that. And where he can play expansive rugby, he's going ahead and doing that. I saw you grimace.
Really though, really.
Really open.
Listen, they'll play open and expensive rugby against Fiji,
right.
But you've got to do it. I think week in, week out, because when it comes to ultimately every side right now is preparing for the World Cup.
Sure.
That's the big prize. It's not about England winning the Six Nations, because they've done it the last 2 years. So that's not the test for England. The test is, can they get over the line in Japan in 2019? And the big question is, and everyone knows this, can they beat the All Blacks? Because the All Blacks right now look like they're a country mile ahead of everyone else. And to beat the All Blacks, you don't beat the All Blacks by engaging in an arm wrestle, because the All Blacks are able to play in a number of ways. They can engage in an arm wrestle. They got guys who are big, who are strong, who can front up in the physical stakes. But you've got to have an X factor for me, where you've got to stretch them and take advantage of the gaps. And for me right now, with what they have, I see a very clinical side. They're very efficient with the use of the ball. I see in soccer parlance, I would say they're almost like a Jose Mourinho co-side.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right. Deliver a result, dogged performance, be able to get over the line when they need to. Isn't that what you need in tournament football? Tournament rugby, when it comes to the World Cup? Yes, ultimately you're going to come up against the All Blacks, whether at the end or whatever the case.
What do you do? Can you be
got
dogged?
yourself there.
Yes, that's not the point,
But it's
Barry.
a performance on the day.
I've already said this, that it's not about getting there.
Yep.
We all know that everything is probably leading up to a confrontation between those two nations. So whether you beat France, whether you beat South Africa or not, really doesn't matter. It's about, can you do it in that one-off performance that Mark is talking about?
Absolutely.
Can you do it?
Well, despite the win, England slipped to second in the Six Nations table on points difference after Ireland's victory over Italy, while Wales fall to third. The table looks like this. Ireland on top on 9 points. England are also on 9 points, but like we talked about, that points difference between Ireland and England. Third, Wales are on 6 points. In fourth is Scotland on 4 points. France is on 2 points, and at the base of the table is Italy, yet to score.
Other results from the Six Nations. Greg Laidlaw returned to the Scotland lineup by kicking 22 points as they secured a hard-fought 32-26 victory over France at Murrayfield. And Ireland put in 8 tries past Italy in a 56-19 win at the Aviva Stadium to make it 2 wins from 2 for Joe Smith's side in the Six Nations. Round 3 fixtures. The competition will take a break this weekend before returning next weekend with these matches. France are at home to Italy. Ireland will entertain Wales at the Aviva Stadium, and Scotland against England at Murrayfield.
Hi, my name is Luke Baamute, a small forward, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Around the world in 60 seconds, international sports news.
We begin in the United States of America, where the Boston Celtics are fast running out of jersey numbers to retire. Franchise legend Paul Pierce became the latest to have his jersey lofted to the TD Garden rafters following Boston's 121-99 loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Notable NBA results of the weekend also saw defending champions the Golden State Warriors beat the San Antonio Spurs 122-105, and Joel Embiid's 29 points led the Philadelphia 76ers past the Los Angeles Clippers 112-98. Across to South Africa, India captain Virat Kohli says South Africa deserved to win the fourth one-day international at the Wanderers on Saturday as the home team kept themselves alive in the six-match ODI series. The Proteas chased down a revised target of 202 in just 28 overs as the hosts won their first game in the series, which now sits at 3-1 to the tourists with two more games to play. Down under, brutal hitting helped Australia secure an emphatic 7-wicket victory over England as the hosts booked a place in the T20 Tri-Series final on Saturday. England will next face New Zealand in the first of back-to-back meetings tomorrow as they bid to aid their hopes of reaching the final. And we end in South Korea with a look at the medals table at the Putang Winter Olympics. Germany lead the way with 4 gold medals. Netherlands and the United States of America are 3rd and 4th respectively with 2. Norway, Canada, France and 3 other nations have all picked up 1 gold medal each.
Play your Twitter heads. Connect with ZiFM Stereo on twitter.com/ZiFM Stereo. /ZiFM Stereo.
Fan Zone. Get in touch with the team and have your say your way.
Operator.
All right, the number to use 0731-168-0405. Get in touch with us on our WhatsApp platform and we'll be able to read your messages, whatever they may pertain to. Sangsi says this, finally some good news out of the Chevrons camp and a meaningful innings from Brendan Taylor. Brendan Taylor finally remembering how to play the game, so he's very impressed with that.
Yeah, we criticized him last week and we said we hadn't had that big performance since his return, him and Carl Jarvis, and it was nice to see Brendan Taylor repay the faith of those that got him back to come back and play for the Chevrons and the selectors, and that's good. That's what we need to see more of from Brendan Taylor. He's one of the senior players, one of the leaders in the team, and he needs to show it not just by saying, hey, this is my pedigree, but with the big performances in matches, especially against teams like Afghanistan.
What you're saying is reiterated by Ryan, who says about the cricket, it's about time we had a performance like that from Brendan Taylor, especially against a team like Afghanistan. He owed the nation that. His problem, like so many others in our team, is not talent, but consistency. That's a very good message, and I would say I would agree with that. It's an issue of consistency when it comes to the Chevrons.
Mark, and it's not just consistency from one person, is it, Mark? We need to get these guys now performing together as a unit where BT scores the century, but there's someone else with a big score to back that century up.
Yes, and we had that in Sikander Raza, who got 92, and he batted well, and he was unlucky not to get his 100. So yes, I get frustrated when I watch this because I know that there's the ability that they can do it. There's certainly the ability, but I get frustrated, and this was a typical example of them bouncing back. They were down and out. They were losing a series to Afghanistan. They got hammered in the T20 series, and suddenly they've now come out and thought, well, guys, we need to perform here. This is a big series for us because we have got to qualify for the ICC World Cup. And credit to Brendan Taylor because we all know he's a top quality player, we've got top quality players in our side. Graham Creamer, Sikander Raza, they're all there.
But they're not performing.
How about the coincidences, guy? Or is it from this game? In the first game, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe bowled out for 179.
Right.
In the second game, Afghanistan bowled out for, guess what? 179. In the first game, Afghanistan made 333. In the second game, guess what Zimbabwe had? 333. Now, here's the scary part now, which brings a lot of suspicion and will bring a lot of talk. Right. In the 47th over of both games, there were 3 no balls bowled.
There we go.
Is that a coincidence, guys?
Listen, that's where spot fixing starts. The talk of spot fixing starts. Because it's too aligned for it just to be.
Are you making any accusations, Barry?
I say no such thing. I have no standing. All I'm saying is it looks fishy.
Yes.
I smell fish.
Alois?
The fish is smelling.
Even in the studio. Yeah, the fish is smelling in the city.
Smelling.
It's a sticky one.
Very badly.
Well, they'll have to look at that one.
All right, let's go to our football messages. Lots to do with FC Platinum. DJ Bongs in Hillside Harare says, I know in life miracles do happen, so as in sport as well. But this game is over. Wish you good luck, FC Platinum. And he finishes off by saying, Chazunguza Oye. This one says, this week, no, not good for me. Manchester United and FC Platinum, they let me down. And then this one is a bit of a quip that says, failing to award FC Platinum a penalty in any football match is defiantly poor match officiating.
Wow. Anyway.
And then this one says, I think FC Platinum are overrated with their good home run last season. But the thing is, our level currently as a footballing nation is very low. Check with players who we produce. SA is their highest achievement. We need to put our house in order before we expect higher achievements on the pitch. Yeah. Platinum is out of it. That's Tinashe Mofu.
I agree with certain parts of his message, but for you to say FC Platinum is overrated, by what yardstick? Because I don't think anyone say that they were going to win the CAF Champions League. I don't think anyone say that they were going to win in Angola. So overrated, Zimbabwean champions, you know, because I find it very funny and silly that some fans will say FC Platinum, no, they're useless, and then they'll start naming local teams and say these local teams are better than FC Platinum. How can they be better than FC Platinum when FC Platinum were crowned champions?
Sometimes I don't understand that. That word, I think, is abused. The word overrated is abused, especially in Zimbabwe. I've heard it where it's used where it's not even appropriate. How do you say that they are overrated when you actually think your team is better than them when they were not champions? They were beaten to the championship by the very team. Just say you don't like them, you don't support them.
And also,
say they're overrated.
Also consider the fact that this is your first time. In the CAF Champions League, so there was
second time.
They were not going in there rated by anyone.
Who rated them? Why are you saying they're overrated? Who actually rated them over the limit that you say they rated? Where did you say that? I think they are there. This second time they went in there, and for me they are the champions of Zimbabwe. For me they play the best football in Zimbabwe.
They're on merit.
Yeah. Why are you saying they're overrated?
All right, let's go to this one's Kudakwashe Makarutse in Chizi. He says, feel pity for FC Platinum. It's going to be a mountain to climb for them for sure. I think the coach fielded more attacking midfielders, which placed the team under intense pressure. And he says, I'm glad the Chevrons remembered how to win.
Is this a type of game where, a player like Takwara would have shown? And even, when they were trying to get the Ngezi Platinum Stars captain, Liberty Chakoroma. These are games, surely, where those guys would have added value.
Yeah, I think that defensive shield would have assisted. But just from the reports that we're receiving, and especially the report on that final goal, the second one for Jacques, wherein he outran the defender, almost got to a one-on-one position with the goalkeeper and then smacked it into the top corner. You look at that. That's a team that was able to get behind FC Platinum. So yes, the defensive shield would have assisted, but I think they left too much gaps. They weren't compact enough to defend against a team that seems to have a lot of transitional play that was effective.
For me, Mike, there are a lot of times when people come and give a lot of flag to Jose Mourinho. They say he's parking a bus. Yeah, what? It's systematic. There are times you need to park that bus. You need to do it. You need to stay compact and park the bus. That's exactly what FC Platinum needed to do. They know they still needed the second leg at home. You don't care about the criticism about parking a bus. Go there and park it. It doesn't matter. You got a time to go and attack at home. That's what they needed to do. Like Barry is saying, they forgot the compactness, and you need that compactness when you're playing away from home.
So Norman Mapesa's best approach would have been to frustrate Augusto in Angola and then try and get the job done out at Mandava. This is ZiFM Sport. Coming up, we've got the beautiful game as we tell you, of course, what happened in England, Italy, Spain, Germany, as well as a bit of controversy in France. And who's at the center of it? None other than Mario Balotelli.
Alcohol may be hazardous to health if consumed to excess. The operation of machinery or driving after the consumption of alcohol is not advisable. Not for sale to persons under the age of 18 years.
Castle Lager is more than just beer. It's pure liquid gold, crafted from the finest local ingredients to deliver a taste that is somewhat dry, somewhat bitter, but never sweet. It's the taste that stood the test of time. It all comes together with a Castle.
The Castle Lager Premier Soccer League report on ZiFM Sport. The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport.
We start the beautiful game in the Premier League where Arsene Wenger admitted his side could not afford to lose the North London derby after Harry Kane's winner for Tottenham left Arsenal clinging on to their top four ambitions. Spurs got the better of their neighbours as Kane headed home after half-time to secure a 1-0 Wembley victory, which moved the host 7 points clear of the Gunners in the Premier League table. Arsenal could be 8 points off the top four and a return to the Champions League if results go against them over the weekend. Boys, I don't know how we went with this on Friday, where we voted who was going to win this North London derby, but Harry Kane's 101st Premier League goal. I think Arsenal are going to struggle to finish in the top four.
Yeah, I think we can safely say Arsenal won't be in the top four. I think it's going to be very difficult. They need not just their performances to improve, they also need results from 2 or 3 teams to go their way. They need Spurs to drop points. They need Liverpool to drop points. They need Chelsea to drop points. They need a number of teams to be dropping points. And so the opportunities where they can capitalize on games between the teams ahead of them are going to be few and far between. And so for me, that's why it's a tough ask for Arsenal. Never mind the fact that they themselves, their form is not exactly impressive.
It's not impressive, but I saw lots of positives with Arsenal's performance, and it's tragic that they've left it so late. They've left too much out of their hands. So yes, I agree with you that they're not going to make the top four.
Positives, Barry, but you know what the biggest negative about Arsenal will always be? Their failure to beat the teams around them.
Yes.
And that's what counts when you're chasing Champions League football. You have to get the draw and the odd win. That's why when people look back at that Liverpool draw with Tottenham, it was actually a good result for Liverpool. The fact that they didn't lose and therefore deny Tottenham those 3 points.
Yes. The ability to make up any ground on where Liverpool is and was and is.
A draw would have been good for Arsenal in this game.
I actually predicted a draw, and I thought they were well within their ability to actually get a draw out of Wembley. I thought they would. Losing all 3 points to Tottenham, it actually strengthens Tottenham's position, and they're all out there and they're confident. And I'm afraid that they won't make the top four. The best bet for them to get into the Champions League is by winning the Europa. I think they should just do a Jose Mourinho and just decide we give up. We are not going to do this.
Let's go for it in Europe.
Let's go for it in Europe.
And I think they've got the Arsenal, in inverted commas, pardon the pun, to make a real go of the Europa Cup. Staying in England, Manchester United manager Jose Mourinho bemoaned his side's inability to score against Newcastle by saying his side could have played for 10 hours and not scored following their 1-0 loss. Matt Ritchie scored the only goal after 65 minutes as the Magpies climbed out of the relegation zone with victory. Anthony Martial and Alexis Sanchez spurned the best chances for Manchester United, who remain 16 points behind. Premier League leaders Manchester City. Newcastle boss Rafa Benitez says beating Manchester United will give Newcastle confidence in their battle to stay in the Premier League. Let's hear from the two managers, Jose Mourinho, who we'll hear from first, and then we'll hear from Rafa, the gaffer, Benitez.
My verdict is that we could be here 10 hours and we wouldn't score a goal. But I also want to say, because I think it's fair to say, that Newcastle play with their lives and defend with their lives the clean sheet. I think clearly they were trying to get a point, and a point would be a good result for us in their relegation fight. They got us in a defensive mistake in the lateral free kick, and they score, and in that moment they just think about, we are going to give our lives and we are going to defend with everything. And they defend with everything, plus the gods of football that were clearly in their side, but I think they must have an amazing feeling, which is the feeling of they gave absolutely everything to have that luck in their side.
I feel that we were working as hard as today, maybe in another games, but when you play against a top side like Manchester United, and you know that every ball is important, because if you make a mistake, they will punish you. So then you have to work like they work today. So it was amazing, the effort. Even we were doing well for a while, and after we were defending because they were making crosses and they are quite dangerous. But the team work and the way that they were fighting for every single ball was amazing. I'm really pleased for the players, really pleased also for the fans, because we did it here at home.
Rafa Benitez there talking about a great victory for Newcastle at St James's Park. But you got to think to yourself that the tactics of Rafa Benitez, he got them spot on. Yes, it was doggedly defensive, but he got his tactics right insofar as he had his attacking players on the field of play, didn't he?
Yeah, Rafa Benitez has always set his stall out rightly. He knows how to set up a team. There's a guy, yes, he's struggling at the wrong end of the Premiership table, but this is a guy who's won league championships. Yeah. There's a guy who's won trophies. Yeah. There's a guy who's managed some of the biggest teams in European football. And so he knows how to do his work. And he obviously prepares meticulously. There were stories about him and Jose Mourinho having almost the same DNA, in that they stay at the office until 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, studying footage of opposing teams. So he obviously prepares meticulously for his teams, and he did so against Manchester United, and his tactics paid off. They got away with 3 points that sort of like shift things at either end of the table, at the top as well as at the bottom.
You know, I actually think that he also exposed Manchester United as their attacking style is not that potent. You know, when they face a team that defends well, they can't penetrate, they can't get through. You know, we saw Newcastle doing the same thing to Manchester City, but they were breached.
Yeah.
Eventually they were breached.
Found a way.
Yes, they found a way.
Yeah.
But Manchester United couldn't find a way. They didn't have an answer to that. They can't. Their penetrative ability is for me, Manchester United is questionable. Yeah. If you ask me, it's very questionable.
We talked about Manchester United's ability to have incision up front.
Yes.
And it's shown in this game, whereby they don't have that spark. Alexis Sanchez hasn't provided, unfortunately.
But here's an interesting stat, though, guys. Mourinho's record at St James's Park is absolutely poor. It's horrendous.
Abominable.
0 wins, 3 draws, and 4 losses from the matches that he has actually played at St James's Park. So he doesn't like going to the northeast of England. And there were, of course, results from other matches this past weekend, Boss.
There were indeed. Let's quickly run through those results for you. Everton 3-1 winners over Crystal Palace. Stoke City and Brighton drawing 1-1. Swansea City 1, Burnley 0. West Ham 2-0 winners over Watford. Manchester City putting 5 past Leicester. Sergio Aguero with 4 of those goals. Huddersfield Town 4, Bournemouth 1, and Southampton 0. Liverpool 2. Salah and Firmino on target for the Reds.
And let's give you updates from Europe, starting in Spain, where Atletico Madrid president Enrique Cerezo says his team will battle to the end after a weekend in which they cut the gap to 7 points behind La Liga leaders Barcelona. Antoine Griezmann scored after 40 seconds as Atletico Madrid walked away 1-0 victors at bottom club Málaga on Saturday. Elsewhere, Ernesto Valverde claimed Barcelona's hectic schedule had caught up with them as unbeaten La Liga leaders were held to a goalless draw by Getafe at the new camp. Cristiano Ronaldo scored a perfect hat-trick as Real Madrid recorded a much-needed 5-2 victory over a below-par Real Sociedad at the Santiago Bernabeu on Saturday evening. In other results out of Spain, Athletic Club and Las Palmas in a goalless draw. Villarreal beaten at home by Alaves 2-1. Leganes also beaten at home 1-0 by Aiba. Sevilla winning at home versus Girona 1-0. Celta Vigo and Espanyol in a 4-goal thriller. It ended 2-apiece. And Valencia getting back to winning ways. 3-1 victors over Levante in the Valencia derby.
All right, let's go to France now. In Ligue 1, Mario Balotelli is booking for complaining about alleged racist chanting during Nice's defeat at Dijon on Saturday has been described as unacceptable and wrong by the anti-discrimination charity Kick It Out. Nice striker Balotelli was given a yellow card by referee Nicolas Rainville after protesting to him about fans in the side's 3-2 defeat at Dijon. The LFP, which oversees the top 2 leagues in France, French football, is investigating the incident, according to French newspaper L'Equipe. Mario Balotelli, controversy, but this time, to be honest, he's absolutely justified.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the problem then, I think what happens here then shows you that the problem goes deeper than just the fans.
Yeah.
There've got to be questions asked about the referee as well. And his sincerity. If someone comes to tell you that there's a problem and there's established UEFA protocol that says that when a player comes to you to complain about racism, you're actually supposed to stop the game.
And see if he's telling the truth. Investigate. Check with the linesmen. Check with the other people.
The first step is you're supposed to stop the game and then tell the stadium announcer to make an announcement for the offenders to stop.
Yes.
Then the second step is you're once again supposed to stop the game. And then those guys are supposed to be weeded out. So there's an established protocol. Mario Balotelli's actions were supposed to get the ref to start that protocol.
Yeah,
and he didn't do that.
Yeah, that's the same as Muntali. Remember the Muntali incident?
Yes, he ended up walking off.
You ended up walking off. They ignore. You don't ignore a player when he says that. He's not stupid. He's there at the stadium to play football. When he stops and say, I've been racially abused, at least take his word first. Then you can actually say, okay, no, there wasn't the incident. Or at least make that announcement that, please, if there's anyone who is doing this, stop. But to just ignore a player, and even worse, to question him, I think it's actually really bad.
Right, quickly, let's go to the Serie A. Napoli came from behind to produce a stunning 4-1 victory against Lazio to storm back to the top of Serie A. Juventus had returned to the summit following Friday's 2-0 triumph at Fiorentina, but a dominant second half showing ensured that they moved back into second despite dropping 10 points this season.
And in Germany, Bayern Munich went 18 points clear at the top of the table after beating Schalke 2-1. Michy Batshuayi continued his good start to life with Borussia Dortmund as he scored again in a 2-0 win over Hamburg.
The Batman performing for Borussia Dortmund, and that story brings us to a conclusion of today's show. We're back tomorrow with Top Hit Tuesday. Don't miss it. May God richly bless you. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Manande, out.
Be sure to catch ZiFM Sport every weekday on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.